Hi, I'm honored to introduce Brianna Kennedy. I met Brianna 3 years ago when my principal asked me to apply to the Teacher Leader Academy through the DPS Foundation. Um, Brianna's been instrumental in my growth um, as a teacher leader and my growth as an anti racist teacher. Brianna graduated from NCCU here in Durham and earned her master's from University of Pennsylvania. She had taught for over 7 years until she went into her new role, and Sherry's going to talk about that.
Yes, Brianna is a former educator and worked in education and education policy. She is now with Durham Public School Foundation and is the chief of programs there since for the last 3 years. I also met her in 2001 with the Durham Public School Teacher Leadership Academy, and she has been influential in choosing to be a change agent for more equitable schools and communities through the instruction and culture that we try to build within our schools. Brianna is like the most dedicated, resourceful, caring, and authentic individual that I've met. And she definitely can give this last ed talk on hope because through the Teacher Leadership Academy and working through my project, it was a very difficult project, but she gave me the hope to continue my project. And I'm so glad that I have met her and worked with her. And she's helped to build these bridges and relationships with people like Village of Wisdom and the Duke TeachHouse. So I'm so thankful for you, Brianna.
Wow, I was not expecting that. Thank you so much, Sherry and Lisa and Dr. Jan for doing all of your magic behind the scenes. It's so good to be with you all. And as Sherry mentioned, and what you'll see in the launch pad is I'm here to talk for just a few minutes about hope in the midst. It's so good to be with you all. I really hope the UnConference has met or exceeded all of your expectations for the night. And many thanks to all the great presenters and those who have spoken before me. And finally, happy homecoming to the NCCU Eagles that are in the house. After this call, I will be starting my homecoming festivities through the weekend and until Tuesday when I get back to work. While talking with Dr. Jan last week about collaborating with TeachHouse and how things were going with the fellows and the conference planning, we got on a few tangents about the way of the world. During that call and so many calls that I've had lately, we always seem to identify this undercurrent or this fizz that's bubbling right underneath each of our words. 5 minutes of any national news network, you hear about three things: war, violence, and death. Now, the latter is a fact of life, but most times when we hear about death, it's always because of something traumatic and catastrophic, right? What are we to do? During the pandemic, I was introduced to this term doom scrolling, which became somewhat of a ritual for me, especially in the morning, along with my cup of coffee. But I had to do some intentional cleaning of my news feed so that I could find the good in humanity, so that I could find hope. One of an educator's superpowers is the ability to hope without ceasing. I mean, why else would someone choose to wake up before dawn and return home after dusk if they're not confident that something better is on the other side? Webster defines hope as a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen, a feeling of trust. As educators, your hope for a higher class average, more responses during those checks for understanding, and more growth keep you going for the next day, even in, no, especially during an all out attack on public education and many other sacred institutions and social services that we all rely on. Having hope doesn't mean you're not in touch with reality. I mean, disappointing and sad things, they will happen in your classrooms and in your own life. But having hope implies that while these unexpected events occur, you still expect more on the other side. When your lesson falls flat and your students are looking at you like you have two heads and one eye, when when that occurs in your classroom, you still expect yourself to try again differently and for them to understand better the next time. Though one parent teacher conference didn't go as planned, you expect the rest to do so. And so you show up prepared and you press forward. I was a middle school teacher, and any middle school teachers in the room, or even if you have some not so good memories of your own middle school experience, you know that you see a lot. I mean, a lot more than any man, woman, or child should. And these experiences, they have lasting effects on you as a preteen, a teenager, young adult, and on through adulthood. In 2018, my team and I, we decided we were going to celebrate Women's History Month by doing an appreciation luncheon for our girls. Originally, it was just going to be the eighth grade girls. We were going to take them to lunch, do something nice. And this thing got big. We're talking a full panel. We had like 8 women from across Durham, all successful, different walks of life, different upbringings, different backgrounds, who wanted to spend an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, eating some lunch and talking with some middle school girls, pouring into them things that they hoped they'd hear before and things that they hope will stick with those young ladies. When you looked around the room, you saw plenty smiling faces, girls chatting with women who've walked in their shoes. And for those 2 hours, you could breathe in hope and breathe out expectation. What none of us could see were the sick parents that were waiting on their child to come home to further care for them, the immigrant parents who were working hard to afford their children the life that they deserved. You couldn't see the empty dining room table where a child sat by themselves completing homework. In those few moments, all of these things were invisible and didn't exist. And although we walked back into our reality after that luncheon, we gained a lot more wisdom from that panel. We gained hope. Right now, I'm sitting in my house delivering this message on hope, and I hear a little 6-year-old boy upstairs singing along to one of his favorite podcasts. That is hope. I have hope living and breathing here with me, with my 2 children and my husband. And I hope that each of you, regardless of your walk, regardless of your background, have some hope that you're able to touch, have some hope that you're able to hear, have some hope that you're able to give to someone else. While our news feeds and social media feeds are filled with despair, it is easy to lose your optimism. But you are an educator. You have hope. Do some reflection, do some cleaning, and remember your superpower. Thank y'all so much for being here with me. Please complete your survey and do everything else that the planning committee has asked of you. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, your school year. Keep hope alive.